Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. And the question for this presentation is, why were other minorities targeted by the Nazis? And how were they dealt with by them? The short answer is that the Nazis persecuted any group that threatened the purity of German blood, or that challenged Nazi ideas. And they dealt ruthlessly with them, without mercy. The Nazis saw gypsies as a corrupting influence. They lived a nomadic life. They didn't pay taxes, and their children often didn't attend school. They were seen as work-shy too. In 1935, the Nazis moved against the gypsy community, banning all marriages between gypsies and Germans. And in 1938, the decree for the struggle against the gypsy plague was issued. Note the language used. Gypsies were forced to register with the police, and then were restricted to designated sites until they were moved to the death camps after 1941. Some 500,000 gypsies would be murdered at the camps. The Nazis also wanted to rid society of all worthless undesirables, as they saw them. They didn't contribute to the Volk, to the national community, and so the Nazis saw them as expensive, a burden, costing the state large sums of money in care and welfare costs, as well as another bad influence, even if not a dangerous one. The poster on this slide sends the Nazis' message. The money spent on them and the resources allocated to them would be better spent on the fit and healthy. These people included those with hereditary or other diseases and the mentally and physically handicapped. In July 1933, the Nazis passed their sterilization law, the law for the prevention of hereditary diseased offspring. It allowed undesirables ranging from the mentally ill or physically disabled, including the deaf and blind, to chronic alcoholics, and because the feeble-minded were included, beggars and tramps, as well as prostitutes, to all be caught in their net. Between 1934 and 1945, though mostly before World War II, approximately 350,000 people were forcibly sterilized, around 200,000 of them for being feebly minded. What's more, from 1939, the Nazis instigated a euthanasia program. It was described as a mercy death to the incurably sick, and it aimed at killing all mentally or physically disabled people. The program was given the name Action T4, after the address in Berlin that administered it, Tiergartenstrasse 4. Special hospitals were established where the children were murdered, either with lethal injections or else starved to death. It was done in secret, but still some 6,000 handicapped children, even babies, were killed. The killing of disabled adults soon followed, and the program was extended to cover occupied Czechoslovakia and Poland. Gas chambers were built in 6 mental asylums, and some 72,000 had been murdered before public protests made the Nazis stop the program in 1941, only for it to be carried on in secret, and in total some 200,000 people were killed. As for social deviants, homosexuals, prostitutes, those who were considered work-shy, tramps and beggars, alcoholics, juvenile delinquents, and habitual criminals, which the Nazis felt to be a hereditary flaw. Well, they were imprisoned or else sent to concentration camps and put to work. In 1937, a special camp was set up for young delinquents. Homosexuality was made illegal in 1933, and towards the end of 1934, large numbers of homosexuals were arrested. In 1936, a law was passed to have all homosexuals sterilized. Problem families were sent to camps where the men were made to work. The women taught how to look after their children and run a good home, and the children were educated. Families were kept together, but were under constant supervision. It would be a last chance, for if they didn't conform, the next step would be a concentration camp. The Nazis also moved against a very small minority, but one which would be despised for two reasons. During the French occupation of the Rhineland, which was part of the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, black troops from Senegal and Morocco were used by the French. Some of the soldiers had relationships with local women, and as a result, a number of children were born. Sadly, the Weimar press labelled them Rhineland bastards, and the Nazis weren't slow in using the label as well. The Weimar authorities gathered information on the children, and in 1937, with the Nazis in power, they used the information, tracked down the children, and sterilized 385 of them, without any of the children or their parents aware of what they were doing. Now I'm sure you can see how all this fits with the Nazis' determination to keep the Aryan bloodstock healthy, and their need for a strong military society. Let me remind you, if you think you would benefit from tutorials, do get in touch with me, or get your parents to, at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if I have a slot free. I'm always happy to negotiate the fee to what your parents can afford. I'm not in this for the money. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and good luck with your studies, whatever stage you're at. Cheers.